Today I'm going to be talking about innovation and the future agency. I work for J Walter Thompson Worldwide, and basically we've been around for over 150 years. And we initially started off as an advertising agency, and we still are one, but we like to consider ourselves more than just an ad agency. So how do you continue a brand that's been existing for over 150 years and still propel it into the future? We're one of the first agencies to establish our own futures research and think tank. So I work specifically for the innovation group. And this is where we look into what's happening next, looking at key consumer behaviors now and what's in the future. We look at cross-sector lifestyle industries. And we also look at zeitgeist shifts, so the moving trends and shifts that's happening. And we do this by really deep diving into our research, but understanding how consumers are thinking, behaving, what are they consuming, what are they looking at, and more importantly, why they're doing all of this. So for more information, you can visit our website, which is jwtintelligence.com. We run daily news, so we have to be on top of the news network and understand what's happening. And we are constantly looking through and speaking to expert speakers, going to key industry trade fairs, such as CES, Consumer Electronic Show in Vegas, looking at the key electronics, to looking at design shows as well. So we look across industries, and we want to really pinpoint what the consumer shifts and behaviors are happening across these sectors. So here's a quick glimpse into some of the reports that we've been working on. From our macro trend reports, the first one is called the Well Economy, and that's looking at how we're becoming far more conscious of our health and lifestyles, and what does that mean in brands across different sectors, but also in the health industry, how is it impacting them? And then we also have global market reports, looking at emerging markets or very specific market insights. So we worked on a Generation Z, so looking at a teenage market in Brazil, how they're consuming, how they're behaving, who are the key influencers there. And finally, we also have ethnographic research. So we have our own analytics department that can look at social listening, understand how consumers are writing, what they're writing about online, and really gather that research. We also run our own consumer surveys as well, so we are able to make tailor our questions to really pinpoint the way consumers are thinking and behaving. So here's just a very quick snapshot of our process, because I'm sure everyone has their own style and have their own process. So I just really honed it down to a very simple methodology. We first identify what the disruptor or the problem or the gap is in the market, and we do that from a very wide and macro lens. Then we distill that information for the core clients by really funneling that down and honing it into what is important for that specific brand. And then we take it into ideation. And then obviously the last step would be execution. So I wanted to spend today talking about what I'm calling the new era for advertising. What's next in advertising, and why is it an industry that's been shaken up so much? So often what we do in my department within the innovation group, when we look for identifying a new area, we first look at what are the key disruptors. So I want to spend a bit of time looking at the 5 key disruptors that's changing consumer behavior and cultural shifts across all the several sectors of the industry. And when I talk about industries, I'm talking about health, I'm talking about retail, food and drink, technology, so really a very broad spectrum. So first, looking at trends accelerated. So when we talk about, so I work within the trends industry, and sometimes it's easier just to say, hey, she's a trends expert. But trends is such a broad term, and I think it's really evolved over time. So when we talk about trends, it's really funneling down what's happening in consumer activities and how that can be something that can work into a specific type of thought leadership and trend. But this has really been accelerated because of the internet, where I'm able to see what's happening in Thailand or in New Zealand and really bring any interesting trends from there to, I live in the States, so I live in New York, to New York instantly. So I'm able to find out what's happening around the world and be able to bring that trend or thought leadership into our New York office immediately. So just a few interesting stats for people to look at. So trends are racing across the world faster than ever before. 3 out of 4 companies on the S&P 500 list today, so on the stock market today, will disappear into obscurity by 2027. And this is a report that was in Wired. And basically, it's interesting because there's so many companies that are popping up and coming out of nowhere. And obviously, it's as a result of how we're consuming, how we're behaving. And so it lends itself for new startups to really establish themselves in that market before a larger company takes real estate there. So, before a company would last many, many years, so for example, our company's been around for 150 years, but nowadays companies are lasting about 10, 15 years. So why is that? There's a bit of a gap in that. So rather than just jumping the gun and assuming that this is a great, interesting real estate, everyone's talking about VR, so let's jump on the VR bandwagon. No, we need to understand why people are interested in it. Is it worth our clients investing in it, and why? Another interesting stat here is 75% of millennials say they're among the first in their families to research and try new food trends. So millennials are really the ones propelling a lot of key trends nowadays. And just when I did a general search on Instagram, there are over 4 million hashtag trending posts on Instagram. So I guess everything seems to be trending right now. And then I wanted to move into audience shift. So I mentioned millennials earlier, and it seems to be something that brands and marketers always come to us for. What are millennials up to? What are they thinking? I think we've talked so much about millennials. People are actually missing the point with the next generation, which is Generation Z. And they're 13 to 20-year-olds. I mean, every brand, every company has their own slightly different age bracket with Gen Zs, but we like to see them as a sort of teenage group. And they're the first true digital natives, so they're born into technology. The way they use, the way they think, the way they consume on technology is so different from everyone else. So, okay, according to this, 86% of US teens use smartphones multiple times a day, and 70% watch over 2 hours of YouTubes on a daily basis. So that's a lot. They use YouTube, they use the internet to learn, to work, and to express themselves. So unlike millennials, Gen Zs are not brand loyal. The way they consume, the way they think about things actually comes quite differently. They would purchase from brands representing a cause that they believe in. So the way they're behaving is also shifting, and the channel change there is very different from millennials. So I often like to say millennials often would be the ones Googling Beyonce, whereas Gen Zs would be the ones Googling Malala. And in 2015, we wrote a report about Gen Zs, and actually we likened them to millennials on steroids. So it's the idea of they're like millennials, but everything is accelerated. Everything's much faster. Millennials have attention span of 12 seconds. Gen Zs have attention span of 8 seconds. So how do you capture this market? And actually, another point I want to make is if you look at the older bracket, they're going to be moving into the workforce. They're going to start earning their own money. And how do you kind of capture their attention now before you're struggling and trying to understand them whilst they're already in a workforce? So looking at the third disruptor, which is experience culture, or as I like to coin it, the experience economy. So more and more people are spending money on an experience rather than a product or a thing. So rather than buying a handbag, people are actually looking to look for a holiday destination or spend money on dining out. And we're seeing an increase in this kind of behavior across the world. So people are looking for something that they can either Instagram or highlight or talk to their friends about, or something far more convivial. We have here 78% of millennials would rather pay for an experience than for material goods. And this is UK-based stat. So it's also changing our retail landscape. So when you're walking into a retail store, it's not good enough just to have products there. You need to offer something that's more than something that they would easily be able to do online. So health infusion. So we recently wrote a report looking at the health real estate, and it's pretty big because, if anything, we're becoming far more conscious of our health and lifestyles and well-being more than any other generation before. We're able to monitor our health and lifestyles on an app. We're able to measure how many footsteps we take a day, and we want to know what kind of foods that's healthier for us to eat, what will make us live longer, and of course, we all are living longer. So how can brands kind of position themselves in this space? We're seeing a lot of confectioners. So this is kind of like when you talk about health, you wouldn't necessarily talk about chocolates or soda because that's kind of like the naughty, the bad stuff. But actually, a lot of confectioners are repositioning themselves. So this is a new Hungarian brand called Berrybon, and each one of the bonbon contains enough vitamin D that can almost fulfill your daily intake. We're also seeing 57% of US millennials saying they would be more likely, so this stat actually really shocked me, over half of US millennials saying they would be more likely to visit a retail store that offers some sort of gym or athletic facility. That's crazy. So walking into any store and you expect some sort of gym or retail facility, that's kind of a sort of the next demand. So how are stores working towards something like this? Pictured here is the Body Studio. It's at Selfridges, which is a department store in London. So they've actually dedicated a floor to sort of health, well-being, and fitness. So not only are they selling the sort of the clothes that supports this, but they also have a cafe there, which is by two health gurus, Hemsley and Hemsley. And they also have rotating schedules, including talks on health and fitness, but also they have yoga sessions and also cycling sessions. Another example I wanted to point out was car manufacturers are looking at designs that can also improve health and well-being. So at CES in January this year, we saw Hyundai looking at the car design and how that can help you mentally. So quite often, especially these roads not too dissimilar from New York City, where everyone gets really angry on the road. So Hyundai are looking at ways to change the car interior to offer mental stability and also mental well-being. And this is one that I had to throw in because you can't avoid talking about technology. There's a huge tech invasion, and a lot of, this is where we talk about trends accelerating, and it's largely to do with this. So we're living far more connected lives, and we're seeing that by 2020, which is only in 3-year time, 25 billion things will be connected to the web. That's an astonishing amount. And we're seeing that it's becoming more and more seamless. So sometimes you're connected, but you don't even realize you're checking in to somewhere, or your location app is on, or your Amazon Echo is actually listening to you, even though it's not technically switched on. So we're living in a life where technology is just surrounding us. So by 2020, according to Ericsson, 90% of the world's population over 6 will have a mobile phone. That's a crazy amount. So, if everyone's connected in some shape or form, 6 and above, this is only going to accelerate and become a norm. So it's going to become normality. The example I have here is of an office in Amsterdam, and it's called The Edge. And basically, it's a lot of reporters have coined it the smartest office in the world because it's connected to every employee. So from the moment that they wake up, they can switch on the app, they can organize the parking space there, they can organize the first meeting, get a meeting room, they can, tune in and tune out the lighting accordingly. and they can also let them know their favorite type of coffee. But we're also seeing tech invasion in businesses as well. So businesses are also jumping on this bandwagon of understanding the new technologies that we're starting to see. VR is increasingly becoming more and more sophisticated. It's something that everyone talked about and was kind of dismissive earlier. But as soon as we saw the likes of Facebook, Amazon, Google, Alibaba really embracing this, that's when it really changed the ballgame. There's so many VR companies out there. It's incredible. And it's something that our company is increasingly looking into as well, and trying to massage that into some client projects. Also, as a result of VR, we're seeing a lot of VR products integrating and moving into augmented reality and also merged reality. And then that's also not forgetting artificial intelligence. When we're seeing computers outsmarting people, what's next? Are they starting to take over our jobs? Are they starting to win us in every type of game? So this is another area that we've been increasingly looking at because it's largely used in education. So will our children benefit from using some sort of AI toy, in order to learn cognitive computing and learnings? So I just wanted to pull out 3 projects that we worked on. And the first being, this is a project that we worked with Northwell, which is a healthcare company in the States, but they operate worldwide. And we really wanted to propel our sort of innovation and our thinking as an agency. So we didn't want to, so they came to us asking for some way to promote themselves. And rather than coming up with a traditional ad format, we wanted to create something that was a bit more unique. So we created a project called The Fin. And first, we identified a gap in the market, looking at where is a space that needs help within healthcare, and we were looking at amputees. Northwell has the know-how in terms of creating innovation products. We have the know-how in terms of identifying the consumer space and how to sort of get the message out there. And I think it's probably better that the video next will capture the sense of everything, and then I can loop back to this.
I have 2 boys. I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old that love to swim. I mean, I can't keep them out of the water during the summertime. Just to be in there with them and teach them how to swim, that's what I'm really excited for.
It is often said that necessity is the mother of invention.
Well, a Marine who lost part of his leg while serving his country will finally be able to play in the pool with his sons this summer.
A new amphibious prosthetic leg from Northwell Health.
It allows amputees to enter and exit the water without changing prosthetics.
That could help the nearly 2 million amputees nationwide resume active lifestyles.
To show how Northwell Health delivers life-changing breakthroughs, we united expertise across their system to address an unmet need in prosthetics.
And I can't tell you how many other amputees around the country, around the world, don't even go swimming because they don't have anything.
There's been very little thought in our industry put towards swimming. I don't want to stop and take my leg off. I want to just keep going.
We needed to deliver a solution that was simple and affordable for amputees everywhere. A team of prosthetic scientists, 3D printing experts, and aerospace engineers made it possible. And after months of development, Dan Laska was able to jump into the pool with his kids for the first time.
There's no more waiting when I get to the pool or to the beach, say, hold on, I gotta change legs. Now I can just go straight into the water and have a good time with them.
We asked our agency to help us tell our philosophy of innovation. They came back with an idea that will help shape the lives of thousands of Americans.
Hey Dan.
How's it going?
How was that swim?
I felt like I had my leg back.
So that was our response to Northwell coming to us asking for an advert. So we really wanted to change the way we thought about an ad, look at utilizing our know-how and thought leadership, and also our technologies, and establish a space that needed tackling that can resonate with lots of people around the world. So this ad and project covered product innovation. So from this project, we created a product that would be able to change the way Northwell positions itself in the healthcare industry. So other healthcare industries can actually look at this and want to also innovate as well. We also feel like this has life-changing positivity as well. So it's actually affecting the lives of people who suffer from being an amputee. And it's also using new technology. So actually, I realized the projects that I've picked, all of them use new technologies, just because I think this is a space that's really interesting to look at and is able to propel you into an area that changes the way people think about you. So this was a project that was released in March this year. The next project is something that our Amsterdam office worked on, and it's for a finance company called ING. And basically, they came to us, again, looking for an ad, again, having a very open but standard brief. But they said to us, we are not only a finance company, we invest a lot in the arts. And we kind of want to show a little bit more correlation with the arts. And how can we do that? And so rather than saying, hey, ING donates X amount to this art gallery, we actually, again, worked with facial recognition technology and 3D printing to work out a new system which recreated another Dutch artist's painting just to propel a lot of commentary and talk, but show off ING's innovation and actually being on the forefront of technology.
Well, a new painting in the style of Rembrandt has been unveiled in Amsterdam, painted nearly 4 centuries after the famous Dutch artist's death. It took over 2 years, and it does look remarkably like the real thing.
The next Rembrandt brings back to life one of the greatest masters. Only this time, data is the painter and technology, the brush. Together with experts from various fields, over 160,000 fragments from all of Rembrandt's 346 paintings were analyzed, using 3D scans and digital files, upscaled by a deep learning algorithm. Facial recognition software was designed to understand Rembrandt's style and generate new facial features, which were assembled based on his use of geometric proportions. Finally, using a height map to mimic Rembrandt's brushstrokes, the painting was brought to life through an advanced 3D printer that printed 13 layers of paint-based ink. And so, 347 years after his death, a new Rembrandt painting made from zeros and ones emerged, unveiled and exhibited in Amsterdam. On nextrembrandt.com, people could dive deeper into the process of creating the digital painting. The launch video helped spark a global social conversation about where data and technology can take us.
Nieuwe schilderij van Rembrandt.
Impressive just from a data standpoint.
Numérique, il a pris forme à Amsterdam.
Rembrandt makes a return.
A number of organizations took a seemingly impossible task.
148 billion pixels.
It looks precisely like a Rembrandt portrait.
The world was buzzing with all the leading news channels and blogs reporting about the fading boundaries between technology and humanity. Almost 100 million people joined the conversation about ING's innovation defying imagination. The next Rembrandt. What's next?
So again, it's the idea of repositioning a brand, so not looking specifically within their sector, but looking outwardly. So this not only highlighted their commitment and understanding to the arts, but also really looking at their understanding with technology as well, and that they're at the forefront of it. So if they're able to do that to tech and the art world, and they're specialized in finance, that kind of shows that they should be very good at it. And the campaign also provoked a worldwide debate. So a lot of people were then talking about what's next for technology. If it can replicate something so detailed and something so old, what else can it do? And now that technology is also being used, so it wasn't a one-off project. The tech is now being used to restore old paintings. So it's something that is continually being used. And then basically I felt the two projects that I had were a little bit serious, so I'm going to throw in something that's a bit more fun. The client was Tribeca Film Festival, and this is an annual film festival. This one is based in New York, and they have a section which is dedicated to a sort of interactive space where people can go and have something that's a bit more experiential. So we wanted to kind of hinge on that, and we created a machine which is called the Tribeca Reactor. And we use facial recognition, voice recognition, and also motion detector to put someone in the place of an actor in a very well-known film and let them reenact that scene. And the people who got very high percentages were able to win tickets to go to the Tribeca Film Festival. So they didn't quite win an Oscar, but they won tickets to go to the film festival.
You don't think that I could tell the difference?
Oh. Oh, God. Oh. 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 Oh, God. Ah! Yes! Yes! Yes!
I'll have what she's having.
Come on. Really hard.
By all means, move at a glacial pace. You know how that thrills me.
Shut up. Just shut up. You had me at hello.
Oh, come on!
I see dead people.
I see dead people.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Yes?
No, I am your father.
That's impossible!
Hey, I got tickets. High five.
So we hinged on experience-driven engagement. And this project actually, interestingly enough, we didn't do a lot of marketing for it because a lot of word of mouth drove participants to go to the key locations within New York where the reactors were based. And again, using and speaking to different industries that helped us learn about new technologies for this specific project and create something quite unique. So finally, I just wanted to look at some 5 key takeaways. The first is channel change. Consider alternative platforms and executions to reach your target audience. So let's not always think about the TV, let's not always think about print billboards, let's look beyond that. Reposition the brand, go beyond that brand-specific sector and look at other sectors that it can merge into. So again, something we looked at and talked about was health and well-being, being a space that everyone wants to latch onto, from cars to confectioners. Can that be something that your brand can consider too? Harness technology, so really be on the forefront of understanding tech, work with people in tech to help you understand it and utilize it within the specific client brief. Make an impact, so when I'm saying make an impact, it's not about shouting and making something that's bold and a splash, but it's about making an impact to people's lives. So, you know, we're looking increasingly at things that are far more meaningful. So such as the Fin earlier, where we're actually helping amputees. We launched a very similar project for Samsung, where we created a Samsung ink, which actually helped people in Asia who are blind. And that ink was able to print out Braille on normal inkjet printers in the home. So that is something that we want to really have a stake in as an agency, but also help our clients have a stake in that too. And continue conversations, so understand the social and cultural climate and engage with today's audience by making it a debatable topic and allow the campaign to truly begin when the world is really talking about it. So let that be the start of the conversation. Thank you.